priorities were to make everything I could as real as possible. So when you see like all the aqueduct stuff, all the swinging is like it's all done for real. All the rooftop stuff is all done for real. We did use trampolines in certain places, but everything you see is actually real people doing real stunts.
Well, Martin's movies, as you know, are big action sequences. He's known for those. This movie is not a cartoon. This movie is, you know, true swashbuckling adventure with a whole realm and a wow factor for stunts.
They got more complex this time, which they would naturally do, because somehow, you know, the bar's always being raised with other movies. But yes, we did up the ante, and yes, the action is, on the whole, much heightened from, say, the first one.
It became pretty obvious to me when I first got the schedules that this was going to be probably one of the busiest films I've ever worked on, and every single day of shooting there is a stunt going on, whether it be on first unit or most of the stunts are taking place on second unit.
We have approached the whole film, and certainly our action sequences, with exciting real stunts in mind, using the skill of the stuntman performing these stunts with no wires. They're no CG characters flying through the air. They're real stunt guys putting their life on the line, jumping tall buildings, as it were.
Originally it was going to be Zorro chases the wagon through the streets on a horse, and we changed it to go into the roof, but we had to keep the energy and the speed up, so we had these custom-built wagons so we could really go fast and sort of smash them into the side of things and not worry about wheels coming off and all that. And we got a driver down from Canada who's a sort of world champion who was fantastic, and the speed he could actually get this wagon going meant the horses behind him could be going faster. So everything you see when the wagon is going fast, he is generally going fast. There's no camera trickery speeding it up and just trying to make him look like he was going fast. He's generally going very fast.
You know, we talked about the excitement of this sequence, and I talked with Gary about trying to make this wagon chase like a car chase, you know, in the way we approached it and that sort of dynamic.
It was just a battering ram, just like the front of a tank, and it clearing the way for them. So they never had a hair off of them. And you got to think of that stuff before you go. You don't just protect your stuntman, you protect your livestock too. I mean, they had one with a lot of fire. And anytime you mix with fire and animals, you got to really, really be on the ball and take care of all your safety measures.
It just gets really hot. So everything that we are wearing today is just prepared for fire, you know, even the hat, everything. And so we are secure. We got good stunt people coordination, and so when you work with people like that, it's secure.
Actually, we don't have to push. He wants to get involved in them, so it's quite nice for us to get that motivation from him. You know, obviously he does want to do everything. You know, he wants to do all the big stunts. He wants to jump off the roofs.
Antonio is one of those guys you have to stop doing stuff sometimes because he just wants to sort of do it all. The truth is he's a better swordsman than any of the men, to be honest. I mean, you know, perhaps one or two that are his equal. But he's someone who just gives it everything. And I mean, he's been walking around lately like the walking wounded, you know, limping, and his fingers get cut, and you know, he's gone through a hell of a time actually doing it.
These movies are made with blood, money, and sweat.
And sometimes you just have to say, Antonio, stop it, we'll double it, you know, but he doesn't want to. He wants to do it himself, and it'll show.
Yes, in these movies there is always a risk, you know, relative but risky, especially when you start just pushing the limits of yourself, you know. 2, 1, action!
Antonio, he's never half on. He's full on every day. He'll take on absolutely anything. And he's one of the most enjoyable actors to work with. But he inhabits Zorro. I can't imagine anybody else ever been Zorro.
It's okay. But for the first one, Antonio, stay on the boards. And 3, 2, 1, action!
I try to do as much as I can, but that is from it's almost an egotistical point of view. I just love to go to the movie theater and don't feel embarrassed. I just feel embarrassed if I see an stunt doing too many things.
3, 2, 1, action! And now!
One of my sort of main priorities when I was doing the fights is to always try and put a bit of humour in there, because the first film was very humorous and we obviously had to make sure we done the same on this one. So each time we'd done a fight, particularly say like the alley fight or the winery fight, they are the humorous ones.
Who are you? The real question, Senora de la Vega, is who are you?
In this film, she's got so much more to do than what she did in the first one. In the first film, she was more the sort of damsel in distress. In this one, she's actually sort of 50% of the hero in this. So she's had to learn like 3 big fights. Coming from a dancing background, that obviously helps because she's very up to choreography and learning moves very quickly. No matter what your rehearsals are, when you come to the shooting day, actors will always give it that extra 20%. So you sort of do have to calculate that, you know, especially when they're getting into the, you know, each actor during some part of the fight, there's always one bit that he does better than everything else, and he goes from sort of 60 mile an hour to 100 mile an hour in those split seconds. So you've just sort of got to keep an eye on them to make sure that they hopefully keep the same speed.
Well, anytime you get in running 2 horses together, like on a polo field, if both of those actors, they come at each other wide open charge, it only takes that much over one way or the other variation, you're going to have a hell of a wreck.
I actually kind of like these scenes. I mean, sometimes it gets a little bit freaky, but I kind of like that freaky thing too. You know, it's good to assume certain risks.
The problem is with these horses is that they learn the scene, and you have to trick them because they learn the word action, and as soon as they hear the word action, you know, they're off. But you can't just trick them by not saying action, because they learn all the words associated with the take coming up. Even people going quiet, you can see the ears prick up. So the danger is stopping them going. That's the most difficult thing when you're trying to stay still. Once they've learned that a bit of running's involved, then it's impossible to stop them. So that's the big battle.
In the polo field scene, Antonio and Rufus do all the riding other than the 2 times when the stunt guys fall off the horses. Obviously we couldn't let them do that because of the hard landing they was going to have.
You know, there's actors who say, I insist on doing all my stunts. Well, good luck. Me? No. I insist on someone else doing my stunts, thank you very much. Because I'd rather live. Yeah, no, I think I'll leave it at that.